Hello everyone, Simon here. Welcome back to the architecture of Cyberpunk 2077. This is the last video. In the last video of this series, we're gonna go look at the apartments. So in the game, V, our character, can own a number of apartments around the city. The white house icons, those are the apartments. Some of these we've visited already, because they're not really our apartments, they are our allies' homes. So this is Kerry Eurodyne's house, which we've been to in the North Oak video. And then this River Ward's house over in the trailer park. And also Panam's tent in the El Decado camp. So we've been there before, we're not going to go there again. But the other ones we are going to go to, starting with our apartment in the Megabuilding H10. I'm going to fast travel, not going to ride a bike today. There is a fast travel system in the game. I haven't used it up to now because I want to show you the city, so we want to like walk through the city and run through the city. But today I'm going to take the fast travel. Because we're just going to look at the apartment interiors. So first off, this is the one you start off with. When you first start the game, you already own the Mega Building apartment. Remember the Mega Building? You're on the inside. And our apartment is right here. Coming in. And that's it. Alright, that's a... It's a one-room apartment. Although it's kind of generous. For a... Oh, can I turn off the radio? Let me turn off the radio. This thing. Alright, shut up. So, for a... You know, a public housing apartment, it's kind of big. But that might be for gameplay reasons, right? They probably give you a bit of space so you can figure out your movement in the game. Give you places to look around. But in the real world, in a building like this, you would expect this to be like maybe half the size for a one-person apartment. And I say a one-person apartment because you'll notice that there aren't any doors or rooms, right? So there's no privacy. Imagine like living with two people and there's no doors on the showers. I mean, there's a little bit of a curtain at the toilet, but not really. So you expect this to be like a one-person apartment. Let's see. Coming in the front door, we have a little bit of an office. Not bad. We have a computer and a lot of clutter, but otherwise decent. A microwave. There's no kitchen. There's no kitchen sink. Although the sink's there, I guess you can use that sink. There is a vending machine where you can get drinks, drugs, heavy, hardcore meals, girls and boys. Not entirely sure what that means, but you can get all sorts of stuff from the vending machine. So I guess you don't have to cook, you can just like order things. Right next to the office we have a tiny, tiny sink. Although, I mean, is it that tiny? It's a little tiny. And then a mirror, shower, toilet, fairly basic. I mean, shouldn't there be like a sliding door here? There probably should be a sliding door here. In the game there's no sliding door, I guess because we want to keep the space simple. Yeah, no, you would expect for there to be a sliding door here. It would just slide into there, no problem. Here we have the sleeping nook. No sleeping room, just a nook. I guess it saves space, right? It's not bad unless you're really tall. See, this is the issue, it's like if you're really tall. In fact, this looks kind of short. If you're like a tall guy, you're not gonna be able to stretch your legs out. So that's a bit of a... I guess you sleep this way, with your legs sticking out that way. You can do that, right? You know you can do that. Just like, turn the mattress around. Just turn the sheets around, right? No, that's fine. Just stick your legs out that way, you'll be fine. I mean, I'm trying to make the best of this situation. Like with a proper bed, you you're not you know you don't have walls. Although in some small apartments, it's cramped enough that you would have the same problem. So it's not just this particular apartment's problem. Here we have a slightly sunken sitting area. I guess you can call it a lounge. This thing is meant to be a holographic TV, if you're wondering, although there's another TV screen back there. There's Johnny Silverhand, he's not real. I'm not gonna talk about him. So the lounge is here, right? Not bad. Got a couch. A decent sized couch. So if you like invite 3 or 4 or 5 people to your house, there's enough seating for them. On this side, there's some random stuff, and then we have a wardrobe. The wardrobe is all the way here. I guess you just walk around naked when you're inside your house until you put on your clothes and you walk outside, right? So what am I talking about? When you arrange, like when you're designing a house, you imagine in your head how the person lives. Like, okay, you have to like think about. They wake up. Maybe they brush their teeth, take a shower, take a poop, maybe, and then they check the emails, and then they maybe get some food, and then they get dressed, and then they go out. So then like and if you want to design the space efficiently, it would just all be in a line. So like you're here, get up, get a bite, brush your teeth, clean up, check your mails, dress and go out. And so you're basically like one thing after the other and just go in a straight line. And so that's efficient, right? Versus if all this stuff is, you know, arranged differently, like you get up, walk all the way across there, get a bite, and then walk all the way back and clean up, and then walk all the way across there to check your emails, and then walk all the way across to get your clothing. So if everything's arranged differently, then it's much less efficient. And while you might think, well, that's not a big deal, is it? No, but you gotta think about stuff like this when you're designing houses. So here, like the movement is quite efficient, and I appreciate that. Back here, through this door, we have the stash. So V, being a fancy edge runner, has a bunch of weapons and other equipment. I think he might have first aid equipment there and a bunch of guns and swords because, you know, it's Cyberpunk. So that's the stash. I'm guessing computers and things. Right, and that's the whole house. A one-room apartment. This is what you get if you live in a megabuilding. Let's look outside, actually. The view... There's Japantown, eh? Pretty good. Nice view. Look at that. Over there, there's a luxury penthouse apartment over there. It's on top of a bunch of buildings, but then it's like a house with a lawn and then a house. If you play through the game and you choose one of the endings, the epilogue of the game takes place there. Well, partly takes place there. So at the end of the game, you've made it. You're a legend. You're like the badass. Everybody knows who you are. You're world famous in Night City. So you start off a nobody here, and then you end up world famous over there. So you go through all the things. Like you go on this big adventure. All this stuff happens only for you to end up next door to where you started. It makes sense in the story. Basically, the point is like you've done all the stuff, and then it turns out you were home and then you were where you belonged the whole time, basically, and you end up being an established person in Night City. But that's a completely different thing, right? Alright, what else do I have to say? I guess that's about it. If this place was like half the size, it would be realistic. But it's a video game, so we're not too concerned about it. Oh, like a fan. We're in the year 2077 and we still use fans like that, apparently. I mean, this game and just the whole cyberpunk thing, there's something like anachronistic about it, right? I wonder if they did that on purpose. They probably did. The mix of like really futuristic and just old-fashioned, like holographic televisions, super futuristic, and then a ceiling fan, really? Okay, let's get out of here. So this is the basic template. This is what you get started with, and this sets your expectations by which you compare all the other houses, right? So let's start off with the poor stuff, and then we'll gradually work our way to the expensive stuff. The next house we're gonna go to. Where should we go first? You know what? Let's go to Dogtown first. Dogtown is a disaster. Let's get the disaster out of the way. We go to here, I believe, if I remember right. So Dogtown, if you remember, is meant to be a war zone with terrible infrastructure. And the Dogtown apartment is up this elevator. So this, you know what? Let me just step back and look at this building. This is one of these incomplete buildings that are all over Dogtown, right? So the building looks like that, it's incomplete. There's some plastic over the edge of it, but the outer wall is missing. So, unfinished. Although down there the glass is in. I guess you could live in there, actually. And I talked about how it seemed a little strange that all these people just live in containers outside, as opposed to trying to fix up the half-finished buildings and to live in those, right? Wait, what? Oh. Apartments. This apartment proves me wrong in the sense that it is actually somebody fixing up one of these spaces and turning it into a house. Although in a very makeshift way. Well, I mean, we'll see soon enough. Coming out here. So we have a lot of bare concrete. And then over here, look at this. Somebody has taken a bunch of sheet metal and walled off a space here, right? Coming around, a lot of this stuff is pretty messy. A lot of graffiti and stuff, but otherwise the structure looks okay. Again, the sheet metal there between the concrete columns. Over here, this is a little bit more disconcerting. What is this? Oh, I guess there was... Is that also... No, that's just a sheet of plastic. Or like a nylon sheet that's been torn a little bit. So that's not structural damage. So what I'm saying is the structure is okay. There's a lot of rubbish in here. Well, I mean, that's a problem. I think that's on purpose too. Somebody tried to get the water running, but the water was behind the concrete wall. So they smashed the concrete wall open to access the pipes, so they can try and get the water running in the apartment. I think that's what happened. I think that's deliberate. That's not an accident. I mean, I don't recommend doing this in real life. I don't recommend you just knocking a hole in your apartment wall to try to fix the water yourself. Because it might compromise the structure of the building. I mean, there are horror stories, right? So the horror stories, if you look at the plan of a building, and you look like if you have an apartment, it's a concrete apartment, and you look at a plan, you might notice that some walls are thicker than the others. If you see a wall that's thicker than the others, don't smash open the thick wall. The reason it's thicker is because it's load-bearing. If you smash the thicker wall, you might compromise the structure of the whole building. So usually, like if you look at the plan of the building, or just measure it, and you measure the thickness of the walls, there are thin walls and thick walls. Don't smash the thick walls. The thin ones, maybe it's okay, but you should probably talk to an engineer. But definitely don't break the thick walls. The horror stories is, like somebody is renovating their house, They want to like make the room bigger, so they knock out the walls. And they didn't look at the plan, or they looked at the plan and they didn't understand it. And they obviously knocked out the thick wall that is supposed to be load bearing. And it compromises the entire tower, and so then they have to compensate the whole tower for compromising the structure of the building. Horror stories. So like if you don't know what you're doing, don't do stuff like that. Just like talk to an engineer, talk to an expert before you do anything crazy. Okay, back to this. We have sheet metal doors coming in. And we can see that the sheet metal walls, somebody has walled off this space and turned it into a bit of a hideout. What is this? There's like a little makeshift table there, I guess. And a water tank. Is it a hot water tank or just a normal water tank? I'm just gonna guess that's a hot water tank. There are pipes. I don't know if these are... were these original or... No, I think maybe they've been retrofitted in. Yeah, no, look at this. Somebody added extra pipes. And they're basically stealing water. That's probably not, yeah, so they've added pipes, stealing water. The water goes to the hot water cylinder. That's amazing that somebody rigged up all of this. And then the water comes in here. And there's a bath. There's a toilet. And look at that, the pipe comes down into the sink. Somebody has like done their own plumbing. The bath is kind of ugly though. I don't know why they don't try and fix the bath up. Or at least like put a tub in there. If you're not going to use the original bath, because that's disgusting. Like you get a metal tub and then you use the metal tub as a bath. Just put it into the bath. So they got the water working, they got the electricity running, as you can see there's power. But the power I think is also improvised, yeah. So there's like wires just running along the ceiling. I'm not sure if it's got a good idea to do that as well. On your electrical wiring. And look at that! Over here we have... I don't know if these are meant to be beds. That's a mattress for meditation. There's no windows. So I'm not sure what happens when it rains or when there's a sandstorm. There are sandstorms in Night City, so if the sand starts blasting in, that seems like a bad idea. This... what is this? Venetian blinds? There's Venetian blinds, but there's no windows. So I think putting a window in would be high priority if it were me, if you're asking for my opinion. Being able to like keep the sandstorm out at the very least would be important. We have a bit of a balcony. Oh wait a minute, that's the balcony. I guess you could also just put in a wall behind the balcony, that would work too. If you don't want to put a window out there, for example. Because I mean there's like a big gap there, that's dangerous. Oh, that's dangerous. I wouldn't go on that balcony if it looked like that. We have a bit of a kitchen around here, look at that. A wok. Although, you know, maybe we want more bench top to work with, so you can move this stuff. Like all this stuff you can move, you don't have to put all this junk here. And then out this way, a bit of a computer. The wardrobe is there. Oh, back here, here's the generator providing power. I'm not sure if that's a good idea to have that indoors, because you have fumes, right? You need to like get the fumes out, otherwise you suffocate yourself if the ventilation is bad. Looks like a bit of a workshop. Out this way, that's all construction site back there. There's bags of concrete, that's interesting. You can just like go out there, steal the concrete, and use the concrete to fix up this place. You can do that, right? It's just bags of cement. And what is that, aggregate? Oh, look at that, look. There's cement, and there's aggregate, and there's concrete blocks! You can just take that stuff and start building your own house. Sweet. You don't have to like live with sheet metal walls. You can just build proper concrete block walls. Over here we have, this is the bed. You could just get some boxes and lift the mattress and get a clean mattress. Some of the stuff, I don't know why they don't build a slightly better bed. What I'm saying is, it's not that hard to build a better bed. Even if you take that shelf, turn the shelf down and put the mattress on top, because sleeping on the floor is not great. There's moisture, there's insects. If you can get up above the floor a little bit, it's much healthier, right? And it's very easy to improvise a better bed than this, than this thing. We have a desk. And that's the apartment, right? So for an improvised apartment, for something that somebody just banged together with some sheet metal, surprisingly good. And I really think you can clean this up very easily. Because a lot of this is just like trash that you can just pick up, put in a bag, and take it outside. There's no reason why there needs to be so much trash in here. And also, like furniture, you can very easily get some boxes and improvise furniture. So it doesn't have to be this ugly. You can clean this up very easily and you can make it quite livable for something in Dogtown. I mean, I understand that the whole point of Dogtown is that, you know, it's not supposed to be a nice place, right? And like, it's supposed to be an ugly, broken, dirty place. And this apartment is ugly and broken and dirty, but it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't take that much work. Like even one person, no architectural training, can clean this up quite a lot and improvise some better furniture, and it'll be much improved. Is that sand? That's sand, isn't it? Yeah, I mean that's sand. Talking about sandstorms. So the sandstorm blows in, and the sand is collecting on the floor, right? So you want to block that off and not have the sand come in so much. Alright, I think that's all I have to say about the Dogtown apartment. I mean, I'm sure none of you watching this video is in a situation where you need to live like this. If you are in a situation like this and you're watching YouTube, I'm not sure what's going on with you. But like, what I want to say is like, if you end up homeless for whatever reason, you can like build a home somewhere. It's a lot of work, and I mean, so it's probably illegal to like squat somewhere. But if you can like squat somewhere and you can clean it up, and nobody kicks you out again. Like, you can just do it yourself and build a decent place. And people do, like you go to a shanty town, you go to a slum, and people do that. Like if they can't get a proper house, slums will just get built. Like if there's a lot of people who don't have housing, and if you leave them alone for a long enough time, they will start building their own settlements. Because one, they need houses, and two, they have resources and they have people. So why not? Okay, let's get out of Dogtown. The next place we want to go to, let's go to Northside. I forgot where this thing is in Northside. Northside apartment there. The Northside apartment is in this hotel. Rooms available. So we have a hotel. I mean, a hotel is being generous. More like a dirty, small, rundown motel where the blinds are completely broken and the characters are dodgy. Our room is up there. So I guess this is like a long-term lease. A long-term lease in a motel room. That happens sometimes. Bit of vegetation back here. It's like they're trying to have a garden, and it's not really working out. I love this. They tried. It didn't work out. The umbrella is gone. Again, it's one of these things where you look at it, and you get the impression that it used to be nice. Look at these palm trees. And like, imagine when the paint was bright and things were not broken and people were not poor and the cars were not missing the wheels. Like once upon a time this was quite nice. Not anymore though, right? In fact, even if you like look at the columns on the buildings, they're a little bit fancy. 1242. The room looks like that. It's even smaller than the Megabuilding apartment. Where's the radio? Can I turn that off? Here. So remember how in the Megabuilding apartment I said like a real apartment would probably be like half the size? Here we are, half the size. Exactly as I said. The motel room has a bed, a chair, and a computer at the corner. I guess this used to be the TV, but we don't watch TV anymore. We have a pretty amazing computer setup here. There's a number of screens. There's a red skull on that screen, not sure what's going on there. So it's a long-term lease, and I think we've added some things in here that were not part of the original room, like an arcade machine, for example. A lot of personal items too. So we've been living here for a while. Is what it looks like. Is this like a kitchen? What is that back there? That looks like a vending machine? Not sure how the vending machine works. And then this is supposed to be a kitchenette? That's a microwave, right? I think there's a microwave. Is that where the stuff comes out of the vending machine? Like it's possible there's like a dumb waiter system where you can order food and it gets transported to you on a conveyor belt or something and it pops out here, right? So, I mean, that looks like a vending machine? And maybe like it's mechanical and it just comes out here if you like you spend the money and then it pops out. Maybe that's what that is? Not too sure. If it is, it would have to be fed from the back, right? So there'll be like it'll be supplied from behind and it'll come along the conveyor belt or something. I don't know how that works. But that's what that looks like. That looks like a dumbwaiter there. Again the ceiling fan, very funny. Here, this side is the bathroom. Once again, no door, but there is a curtain, toilet, sink and mirror, a shower, and that's about it. No shower curtain. Well, there was a shower curtain at one point in time, but it's gone now. I think it's just for the gameplay purposes, so it doesn't block anything. Although, if it is for gameplay purposes, you could just like have the shower curtain pushed to the side, so it's there, you can still see it. But it doesn't interfere with movement. But no, they've chosen to remove the shower curtain completely. Which is a disaster, to be honest, because that means all the water is going to start spilling out whenever you take a shower. That wouldn't work. That would not work for long. Like, you just create a big mess every time you take a shower without the curtain. Also, like this dark bluish green color is kind of disgusting. You don't... Okay, about lights. The lights, the colors of the lights. Having a blue-green light in a shower like whenever you look in the mirror, you're gonna look pale. You're not gonna look sick. Like it's gonna be a sickly green color on your skin, even if you're healthy. But because the light is that color, every time you're in here, you look like you're sick. So if like you don't put a blue light in the bathroom. Put a warm yellow light in the bathroom so you don't look sick all the time whenever you look in the mirror. Just for your own sanity, right? Because every time you do that, you're gonna look like a zombie. Every time you come in here, look in the mirror, you look like a zombie. Because of the color of the light. I mean, they're doing this on purpose in the game because they want this place to look depressing, right? But you wouldn't want that in real life if it was your own house. Back here, this is like, how do we make sense of this? This wall has been broken open. And then behind, there's a space. I guess this used to be like a service space. And the stash has been set up in this space. With some like makeshift walls. I don't know how you explain this. Because we're in the motel, right? We just like smashed open the motel walls. And then broke into their service spaces behind the wall, and then we set up our own stash here. I don't know how you explain that. Maybe if you're gonna do that, you should ask for permission from the motel owner before you do this. Because otherwise it's vandalism. And two, this... I mean sometimes you have secret rooms, right? Doesn't happen that often. But sometimes people have secret rooms, and maybe you put like a bookshelf in front, or you put a poster in front, or something. You cover the front of this with something that looks innocent, and then you have a secret room behind. So it's possible, and it's not a completely crazy idea. It's just kind of funny that we're not in our own house. We're like in somebody else's motel, and we're doing this to somebody else's motel. That part is the funny part. But maybe we have permission, who knows? You can just like pay extra money and they'll let you do this maybe. It's kind of dark too, there's no lights. But that's deliberate. It's supposed to be like dark and dingy, and why is there smoke? That's just for aesthetics, right? They want to convey, like they deliberately wanted to convey like a dark, depressing motel room. Like you're a transient person with no home. Like that kind of feeling. Right? Let's move on. So that's Northside. If you remember, Northside was the industrial district where the megacorps have come in and displaced all the jobs, and so this has fallen into poverty and decay and neglect. So the apartment matches the story. The next one we want to look at is Judy's apartment. So Judy is one of our friends, and we can go check out her home. Let me just check this. North side, no. Yep, building north side. Judy. Yeah, okay. So Judy's apartment, we didn't come through here when we were looking at north side, because north side was a long video already. But Judy lives in north side. She lives back there. So that's the building there, and in fact it doesn't look like a residential building, does it? That looks like an old commercial building? Maybe like industrial building? What is that? It doesn't look like an apartment building. Maybe an old commercial building. Coming in here, things are not doing well. Now look at that. Hold on, what does that look like? Offices? Like cheap offices? Maybe down here used to be a shop with the big wide windows for the shop fronts, maybe. But it hasn't been that for a long time. Coming in here, a whole lot of graffiti and everything looks pretty bad if you just judge it by its appearance, right? A lot of graffiti. Trash under the stairs, that's not good. It's gonna start to smell, man. And the blue lights again. Flickering blue lights. It's not looking good, is it? So Judy's apartment is this one. Coming in here. This is her apartment. It's still pretty dark. Immediately there's the toilet. And the bathroom. So this bathroom is a little big. There's a laundry here too. Right, bathroom is bigger than you might imagine. But okay, moving on. Over here, we have a proper kitchen. Vending machine again. A desk with a robot on it. A big seating area. So it's pretty big space. Right, pretty big space. And we have one room here. This is a bed, a single bed. Single bedroom, wardrobe, and then over here we have a mirror and makeup, so we know it's a girl's... well, it's either a girl's bedroom or a guy who really likes makeup. That's also possible. I mean, it could be possible. The other room is being used as a computer room. It's a big ass computer. A big computer there. And TV. So that's Judy's house. And honestly, on the inside it looks kind of good, right? There's enough of a kitchen here. Look, there's a sink. Microwave. Is there a cooktop? Wait, where is the cooktop? There's a frying pan, but where's the cooktop? Wait a minute. You know what? I don't know what the cooktop is. Are these the cooktops? I don't know what that is. Let's assume there's a cooktop. So there's a full kitchen with a full fridge, and there's a big lounge. So this could be enough for a small family. It's and it's compared to how the building looked on the outside. This is actually quite nice. It looks like somebody has taken an old commercial building, an old rundown commercial building, and converted the interiors into apartments. And that actually explains the size of this toilet. Because if you imagine if this was office buildings, imagine if this was like 3 offices and like a shared space, and they turned it into an apartment. The offices would be a certain size, but when you convert it to, you know, a toilet and 2 bedrooms, the toilet's a bit too big because, you know, it doesn't fit. The size of the toilet is not the same as the size of the office, so when you kind of convert the building, you get strange things like this. But it makes sense if it's a converted building, that the rooms don't exactly match what they're currently used for, right? Because they were originally designed for something else. And yeah, no, it looks great. Judy is into diving, in case you can't tell, so this is Judy's, how Judy feels about scuba diving. We have jellyfish in the water, and then we have a big octopus there, and we have a scuba diving person. So all the wall paintings are by Judy, painting what she loves. And there's also a big fish tank. This looks like it costs a bit of money to maintain. A small fish. A big tank for small fish. And there's Judy. So that's Judy's apartment. It's not bad, given that we are in Northside. Well, I guess we're closer to Watson. Not Watson, we're closer to a Kabuki. It's an old building, but it's not bad. Like, it's got a full kitchen, is what I'm saying. Like, a full kitchen implies that it's for family living, you know what I mean? It's for people who actually cook. Versus our apartments in the Megabuilding, for example, where there's no kitchen, there's just a vending machine and a microwave. And in the motel room, again, there's no kitchen. So when there's a kitchen, you think family. And when you think family, you think, well, maybe these people, if they're still having families, they're not doing that bad. That's how I think, anyway. So that's the poor stuff. The game is kind of separated into like poor people and rich people. So moving on to the richer side of town, we also have a Japantown apartment. The Japantown apartment, let me step back. The Japantown apartment, we're kind of close to Cherry Blossom Market. So back here is Cherry Blossom Market, so it's a great location, to be honest. It's a cheap apartment in a good location. So out here, the mega building is out there. Well, I'm gonna have to walk a bit further. Mega building is back there, Cherry Blossom Market is back there. And then just across the river is city center, and there's a pedestrian bridge over to the city center, if you remember. So a great location. And here's the outside of these apartments. Let's get inside. There is a proper reception desk at the entrance. Apartments. The elevator is a little bit run down, but it is clean, there's no graffiti. Oh, graffiti, never mind. That's silly. So here's the inside of the Japantown apartment. Oh, look at that. Yellow lights. Already less depressing. And that's just the lights. So right at the entrance there's candles and vaguely Asian drawers and shelves and sculptures and vases and things. I have doubts about the candles. It's probably a fire hazard. I mean, you can have fake candles and they'll work the same way. Open flame is a bad idea, right? In a small space like this, and like paper magazines right next to it, yeah, no, that's a bad idea. It's a fire hazard. Again, we have the holographic TV, a much smaller lounge, much smaller chair. We have an office, a little one, and we have a kitchen. I hesitate to call this a kitchen. Is that like a water machine? Is it a coffee machine? Like a small one? There's a fridge, a coffee machine. Am I insane? There's no microwave? Okay, look. Oh, what is this? Does that cook? Is that? Can you cook with that? I don't know what that is. If you can probably just put a microwave here, and put a cooktop here, like, you know, one of those portable cooktops, and you can have a kitchen. I don't know why they don't have it here. Maybe they just don't cook. But you could, right? You can. There's enough space here that you can just have a simple kitchen. Back here is the toilet. There's the toilet. There's the shower. There's the sink. Light colors, and I mean, that's a bluish light, but the colors here are kind of yellowish. You know, it's not actually much better than the one in the motel, but just the whiter surfaces and the brighter colors makes it feel better, right? So I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference of what colors things are. If you don't want to look like a zombie, put in yellow lights instead of green lights. And it's kind of clean too, look at that. The shower box is clean, the shower head is clean, so it's well maintained, relatively speaking. Although like some of these tiles have fallen off. No, not bad, look at that. And then over on this side, we have the bedroom, quote unquote. Again, the sleeping area is within a little sleeping nook. Wardrobe there. Again, like white walls, bright colors, ceiling fans. And then back here is the stash. And this is in good repair. Cool. So that's the Japantown apartment. The Japantown apartment, it is a bit Japan themed, right? You have the the trees, and I don't know about the candles, but okay. There's the vaguely Asian looking ornamentation on the in the drawers and things. So like Japanese apartments are small, first of all, especially at Tokyo. Central Tokyo apartments, famous for being small. But the Japanese are quite good at using limited space. And in fact, like an apartment like this is way too big for Tokyo already. Like a Tokyo apartment would be like half of this. Either just like one side or the other side, and even that is a big apartment. And they would like... the beds would be folding. Have you seen them? Have you seen like Japanese apartments? Compact Japanese apartments where the beds fold out and fold up, and then the chairs fold out and fold up, and you can like convert the furniture and make the most of the limited space. A bit difficult to do in this video game because the furniture doesn't move in this game. I'm just saying that this is like they're trying to give this a Japanese feel, but it's too big. But that's, I mean, okay. Okay, I mean, you probably can't make it smaller. Another issue though is, you notice how it's a long space. If you take out the wall in the middle, it's a long rectangle. And when you have a long rectangle, your ability to use the space efficiently is less. Because you end up spending more space on circulation than if the space was more compact. I don't know if I can explain this. So if you have a long narrow space, to get from one end to the other, you need a corridor to get from one end to the other, right? And so that corridor takes up space that you could otherwise use for other things. Whereas if you have like a square space, whatever corridor there is shorter. And in fact, a lot of times you don't even have a corridor. You might have like an entrance and then like 3 doors, and then you have 3 rooms, and there's hardly any corridor space, right? And so the less space you use on the corridor, the more space you can use for actual useful stuff. So here, if you look at this is the corridor, right? This is the corridor that allows you to walk from your bed to the kitchen. But because you need to keep the corridor clear, you can't use any of this space. Whereas if you go back to the Megabuilding apartment, it's just a square, and therefore you spend less space on the corridor because the corridor is shorter, because instead of having a long rectangle, it's like a stumpy square. So the corridor is shorter, and so you spend less space on the corridor and you can spend more space on other things. So these are like geometric considerations when you're designing buildings. Is if you design a long narrow building, you're gonna waste a lot more space on circulation, and you have less space left for actual useful stuff. So you want to avoid doing that. As much as possible, you want like stumpy square buildings instead of long ones, if you want to maximize useful floor space. Yeah, like geometric considerations for your house design. So this is inefficient. But sometimes you can't help it, right? If that's the house you have, then that's the house you have. You can't really change anything. I mean, honestly, this looks like maybe it was 2 apartments, and they opened the wall in between them and joined them together to make 1 apartment. It's possible, because look, there's a door there and there's a door there. So maybe this used to be 2 apartments, side by side, and they just converted it into 1. Sometimes that happens. But then if you do that, you're left with awkward shaped spaces because it wasn't designed that way. Did I? Wrong button. What the hell is the upper level? I don't want the upper level. Alright, down to the lobby. The next apartment, we are going to the Glen. The Glen, if you remember, is split into 2 halves, right? The northern half has been taken over by the Megacorps. The area around the Reconciliation Park has a lot of big towers in it. And then the area to the south is old tenements and a lot of poor people. And there's a active gentrification going on, right? There's a bit of a contest between the rich people in the north and the poor people down the south. So the apartment building is there, up there. If you look at this, it looks like there used to be an old concrete building, but this massive steel frame has been added to the front of the old concrete building to strengthen it, which is interesting. Sometimes you do that if you want to remove some of the structure on the inside of the building, but in order to replace that structure on the inside, you add structure on the outside. It's very unusual. Usually it's not worth it. Usually you just demolish the whole building and rebuild it. Like, you don't bother with this stuff. But if you really don't want to, or if you can't demolish the whole building and rebuild it, and you want to do like large-scale renovations on the inside, then you have to put extra structure on the outside to support the building, so you can remove columns on the inside and rearrange everything, right? So that's what happened. That's what looks like happened here. Is that in order to rearrange some of the structure on the inside, they added extra structure on the outside so they can move things around on the inside. Is what that looks like. And then coming in the front door, we have fancy lighting. We have brick walls and some steel columns. The steel doesn't look original, like this steel portal, for example. That looks also retrofitted, so maybe they want to change the structure, so they have to add extra structure in the steel beams and columns so they can take out other structure elsewhere, is what that looks like. Or maybe not to take out other structure elsewhere, just to put more weight on the floors above. That's also possible. It looks like they added extra structure in, so there was an old brick building and then heavily renovated. Substantially renovated. Fancy chairs and some fancy people. Look at these people. Look at how they're dressed. And then we have the reception. So the lighting is kind of stylish, right? What this looks like is an old building that has been retrofitted and refurbished into more expensive apartments, is what this looks like. Possibly like an old industrial building that has been converted into modern apartments. Because we see the contrast between the rough brick and this rather fancy planter here. Is that timber? Wood and glowing lights and very fancy. Coming in here. They kept the Valentino's graffiti in the elevator, which is a little strange. Is that just for decoration? I think it's just for decoration. I don't think the Valentinos are a gang. I don't think the Valentinos have any influence in this building. Maybe it's just there for the aesthetics. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to have gang signs as aesthetics, but okay. And then coming into the apartment, whoa, shiny floors, but a distinctively industrial feel to it, right? Look at this. We have the brick, and then we have, what is that? Fancy timber roof with the exposed steel beams, and then like fancy timber floors. And then the brick columns, and then the steel mezzanine. Interesting. So this looks like, as we said, an old industrial building that's been turned into a fancy new apartment. With the addition of a whole bunch of stuff, like putting in nice flooring, nice ceiling. And because it's a converted space, let's assume it is, it's a double height space, so you usually would not build apartments with double height spaces because it's a little bit extravagant. I guess you can if you're extravagant, but often factories would have double height spaces because if you have machinery that's that tall, then that's how tall your spaces will be. So it's like, your different uses will have different requirements, and when you convert from one use to the other, somehow you have to rearrange these things to make it fit, right? So you're like, as we said, if we have a double height space because we have big machinery in here, but then we're gonna convert the industrial space into a residential space. Now, how do we fit a bedroom into a tall space like this? If you don't put a mezzanine in, then you're wasting a lot of space up there. So then you put a mezzanine in, and then you have to figure out how the staircases work. So like converting uses, converting buildings from one use to another, a very interesting exercise, and often a very complex exercise. More complex than designing something from scratch, right? And here, this is a very good example of it being done quite well. On this side, we have the office in between these two columns here. Underneath, a reading area. So as we said, like, how do you efficiently use the double height space? Here, like the seated desk, so you don't need a very tall ceiling above you because you're sitting down. And then when you step back and step out, you have this ladder. It looks kind of like the ladder can fold up, can it? Or maybe that's just a geometry thing. Can you fold that up? Not sure. You staircase up here, and you have a little reading area in this little space. Very nice. Book on one side, great views on the other. And you're above everybody else, you have a little bit of privacy. Very nice. Coming down here, a lounge. As we said, fancy flooring. We have this modern rug underneath the sofa. Wow, very nice. And a big TV. Backlight would create a lot of glare when you're trying to watch TV. There probably needs to be either blinds or some way to tint the glass. There probably is a way to tint the glass. We are in the year 2077. Maybe it's one of these fancy smart glass things where you flip a switch and the whole thing just tints. There is stuff like that, by the way, smart glass. You can change how opaque the glass is electronically. So imagine this is smart glass. You can just flip a switch and the whole thing just blacks out, and then you can watch TV without the glare. Oh, that'll be nice. Over this way, a pool table of all things. Not... I mean, okay, if you're a pool enthusiast, sure. A pool table. And then... Is this a kitchen or just a bar? So there's I guess this is the dining table. Very fancy chairs and things. Not sure how comfortable that is, but it looks fancy. Oh, the tabletop. What material is this? Is that stone? Wow, stone tabletop. Very expensive. Is it stone or plastic? It's either stone or imitation stone made of plastic. One or the other. We have a sink. Is that a cooktop? That might be a cooktop. Oh, it's pretty advanced, huh? How do you fit the heating elements in there? Let's assume this is a cooktop. We have a sink, and then we have alcohol. Where's the fridge? There is a fridge, okay. A lot of alcohol? A disturbing amount of alcohol. For one person. Oh, look at that. Fancy kitchen, dining, lounge. Under the ladder, we have a bit of a gym and an arcade. Not bad. I guess you gotta use this space somehow. I mean, look. So this mezzanine, I think, was added in. I don't think the mezzanine is original to the building, right? And to access the mezzanine, you need to put a staircase in, okay. And then that creates a leftover space back here, and you put a punching bag down here. And that's just storage now, because what are you gonna do with this space? Nothing. So just put some random junk in there. It's reasonable. I'm just wondering if... What else could you do with it? I guess that's about it. What else can you do with it, right? Back here we have the gear room, the stash. Even the stash is fancy. It's bigger than the other ones, with a taller ceiling, with more lights. But otherwise it functions the same, it's just cleaner. More clean, more slick. Okay, up to the mezzanine. The mezzanine is bed, just a bed. Not a bedroom, because there's no walls. But being higher up does give you a bit of privacy. You notice the area directly beneath the bed is opaque, whereas you can see through that. It's kind of interesting, actually. Like, if you're in bed, you hear someone coming in, you can, like, stick your head up and look down and see who's coming in. So some of this stuff is, like, it's subtle, but it's very clever, right? And as we said, the bed being above everything else, even though there's no walls, you get some privacy because people can't see upwards. But anytime you want to look down, you can just lean over and look down to see what's happening. So mezzanine beds are smart. Gives you privacy without having to be inside a room. This is the wardrobe. It's minimalist, let's put it that way. And not that many outfits. Is this the same yellow outfit 6 times? I'm not gonna criticize the guy's fashion. Oh wow, the bathroom is gold. Why is it so bright? Oh, it's so bright, I can't see anything, it's so bright. Why is it so gold and shiny? Okay. Oh, there's light in every direction, look at this. There's light in every direction so you can see yourself. Like, you can, like, look at your own body clearly. There's no shadows, you can see everything. And here too, look at this. This is great. So the mirror is there, right? Again, there's lights all around. You can see everything very clearly. No shadows. And a big mirror. And a big sink. Yeah, no, this is very luxurious. The toilet is a little minimalist, but it is gold. A very basic form, but it's gold. Ah, this is amazing. It's somehow extremely fancy, but also extremely minimal at the same time, right? It's just a rectangle, and then the lights are just a strip, and yet extremely fancy. This is the kind of minimalist modernism that is very impressive. Like, somehow it's so simple but so good. Great. And it's gold. I don't know why it's gold, but okay. Better than blue, better than green. Like, no, I know why, because look. Like your body, man, it will make you look like a golden god. Look like a golden Greek statue or something. Right? Because of the colors. Like before I said, like if your lights are green, you're gonna look like a zombie when you look in the mirror. But here, because everything's gold, you look in the mirror, you look like a god. You look like a tanned, a bronze statue of a. Well, it depends on what your physique is like. Maybe it's like a tanned, bronze, middle-aged, overweight guy or something. Anyway, so colors are important, especially when you're looking at human skin. Very fancy. And the ceiling, as we said, we have the bare steel structural beams, and then the fancy dark wood ceiling. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. And they retain some of the industrial flavor, right? So you can tell it used to be an industrial building with the brick and everything, and the steel, and the exposed cables. But but that's in the ceiling. That's the stuff you don't touch, right? The stuff you do touch, like the floor, the stuff you touch with your feet, luxurious. Look at the flooring. Alright, so the dirty stuff up there, out of reach. The beautiful stuff down here. Oh, look at the timber. Oh, look at the timber. Wow, beautiful. And what's the view like? We're looking out at... So that's Dogtown that way. Oh, this is the back of the Glen. This is the poor part of the Glen. Not the best view in the world. You're looking at a bunch of poor people below you. But maybe it's an ego thing, right? Maybe it's like, haha, I'm a rich person looking down on those peasants below. Maybe it's that kind of thing? Absolutely obnoxious, but very in character for a megacorp executive. And out this way, same thing. Right, so this is the Glen apartment. An old industrial building that has been taken over by some rich asshole, turned into a luxury apartment, displacing the original inhabitants. Yeah, gentrification. What are you gonna do about it? This is the story of Night City, right? Poor people getting kicked out of their homes and being taken over by rich people. One more apartment. We're going to Corpo Plaza. So this is right in the middle of Corpo Plaza. We have an apartment here as well. Where are we? So we are outside the center. So there's Arasaka Tower, and beyond Arasaka Tower is the Big Five Megacorp headquarters, right? So right beside, or a little bit to the side of Arasaka Tower, is this apartment building. Let me walk across and take a look. Oh, big glass building, very fancy. So that's the building where our apartment is. Oh, let's not get run over. Black Megacorp style architecture. Ugh. Why is it red? Yeah, no, red and black. Extremely sinister. Oh, whoa. Extremely sinister. Yeah, no, these Megacorps, they're here for blood.
It's awesome, right? Let's watch this first.
And the receptionist is metal. Yeah, no, the Megacorps are here for blood. Like, there's something vampiric about this. That is so menacing. It is incredibly menacing. High security, and then we come back here. Like, what is this? It's black? It's a bunch of broken black shapes, and it's all hanging, right? It's not attached to the walls or anything. Yeah, no, it's very menacing. It looks like it might fall down at any moment. And it's backlit. It looks like I feel like I'm being attacked. Doesn't it feel that way? I feel like I'm being attacked. Anyway, this is Megacorp architecture. The elevator is pristine. Look at that. Pristine black. Why are the plants backlit in red? What is happening here? What is happening here? It's so sinister. And it's just the colors, right? It's just colors. If it wasn't red, if it was white, it wouldn't be anywhere, it wouldn't be sinister. Because like this, I mean, this is fine. Like, you put a little bit of red lighting in and everything looks so sinister. What is red bamboo? It's like everything is drenched in blood. I mean, okay, it's like they're doing this on purpose, right? So the game wants you to understand that the megacorps are bad people. So there's this like vampiric blood color scheme in the architecture, like black and red, extremely menacing, and also like the diagonals too. Diagonals inherently are uncomfortable because like there's like pointy shapes. Like this looks like a bunch of knife blades, doesn't it? Looks like, you know, you might cut yourself on some of this stuff. And there's like bits hanging off from the ceiling, and you're like, it looks like things might fall down on you at any time. And all of this is deliberate, like it's to make this thing feel uncomfortable. To convey to you that megacorps are menacing. Inside our apartment here, okay, that feels a little bit better. It's still kind of red though. What's happening here? The floor is lava? Can we like not stand on the lava? Interesting. Yeah, no, everything is slightly red. That's kind of nice though. Hey, look at these chairs. Very fancy chairs. Very fancy tableware. Gold plated. The office is down here. Interesting. And then a big TV. Fancy chairs. The chairs look comfortable enough. But the red light down bottom. Like it's like we're standing in lava. It's like we're in hell or something. Like we're standing in some kind of hellscape. But everything is beautiful, right? Like look at the timber. The timber kind of curves up, and the carpet, and a gold trimmed carpet. Modern desks. Is that fancy stone? Is either fancy stone or plastic that looks like fancy stone? And look at this. Whoa, timber floors. Beautiful dining table, and then we have a kitchen. Okay, do we have a full kitchen or no? No, we don't. That's a menu. I see. Did they come out there? I think you can order food and it pops out there. Is that what happens? Grilled sausage, burgers, and spicy pizza. Yeah, I think this you order food and they cook it and then they transport it to you by robot, probably. There is a small sink if you want to wash out your cups and things. Not a very big sink, so you're not expected to do very much washing. Over here we have the bed. Again, no walls, so I guess this is a one-person. I mean, I say a one-person apartment. There's only one bed, but the table has 4 chairs. Not sure what to make of that. I guess you're supposed to have friends over every now and then. The bed is very close to the ground, so traditional Japanese people, they slept on the ground in futons. And here we have something kind of similar. It's low down, so it suits the Japanese um, habits, sleeping low to the ground. A big wardrobe. Over on this side, the bathroom. Oh, at least this is not red. It is bluish though, so again with the blue light. I don't. These are not real plants, right? These are plastic, right? So lights like these? Oh no, there's a mister up there. There's a fan and a mister. I think these are real plants. But I don't think plants can survive with lights like this, because like plants need to photosynthesize, so they need a good spectrum of light. And that doesn't look like it. Maybe I'm wrong. A big sink once again. But the lights are blue, so it's gonna be ghoulish again. Again, the toilet is gold-plated. I don't know about this ad. This seems insensitive. And here's the shower. A very big shower. Very modern. Very fancy. And then in here we have to... Oh, Sprite, that's red again. Here's a stash. Oh my... You know what I think? I think somebody designed this building without the red lights. And like it's just a fancy, slightly Japanese style, high-tech modern apartment right in the corporate black. And then maybe like when they looked at it, somebody on the design team said, it looks too nice. We can't have something this nice in Corpo Plaza. It has to be more menacing. And so they took the lights and turned them all red, and there you go. It's like if it weren't for the red lights, it'll be fine. If it weren't for the red lights, it'll be a perfectly fine, normal building. But you put the red lights in, and it is sinister. It is so menacing and so sinister, right? I think that's what happened. It's like they made it and they're like, no, make it more sinister, and so they did. Imagine if it was red lights, it'd be quite nice. Although, you know, aside from the materials, you compare this apartment with the other apartments, even with like Judy's apartment. This is slightly bigger, but it's the same thing, right? There's a bed, there's a dining, there's lounge, there's a kitchen. In terms of just living, you're doing the same kind of living things. But here, everything's just more expensive. What am I trying to say? Like, living is living. But here, it costs you more money. Whereas in the other apartments, it costs you less money. But you're still sleeping, getting up, going to the toilet, getting a shower, eating some food. Right? It's just the same thing, but more expensive. And also, what is outside here? This is Arasaka Tower, okay. You can never escape Arasaka when you're a corpo. And that, I guess, is the end of our tour of all the apartments. And also the end of our tour of the entire game. I haven't looked at every single thing in the game, but the game is so big that we really can't. And that's a point that I want to emphasize. This game is big. There's a lot of architecture in this game. It's crazy how big the game is. The game is bigger than it needs to be. If you've played through the game and you play through the story, you do all the quests, and you realize that after you've done all that, there's still a lot of spaces in the city that you haven't visited. So there's a lot of spaces in the city that aren't even used for the gameplay. So it's just like the city is bigger than it need to be, and what I mean is that they wanted to make a big dense city, and they did. It wasn't just that, oh, we made a game and then I guess we need these spaces for the game and that's it. No, they made extra spaces that weren't strictly necessary for the game, but it's there just to make a more it's a fuller city, right? A bigger, fuller, more living, more convincing city. And so there's a lot of stuff that's not strictly necessary for the game, but they put it in anyway because it makes a better city. And I respect that, right? As somebody who's interested in architecture, the idea that they cared enough about the architecture to put in the extra work to make it really, really big and really amazing, very cool. I respect that a lot. And yeah, no, Cyberpunk 2077, in terms of just an in-game city, it sets a new benchmark, I think, compared to all the other games. I won't talk about other games in detail because I don't want to create controversies or anything. But just the amount of city that's in this game, it's like a whole new level. Having said that though, there have been issues with Cyberpunk 2077 if you're aware. When the game first came out, it came out unfinished. It was one of these tragic stories where the game developers had this ambition to make this really big game and everything's gonna be amazing. But they just they aimed a little too high, they flew a little bit too close to the sun, and they couldn't release it in a finished state in time. And so they had to release it unfinished. And it got a lot of flack for that for a long time. But eventually they took the time to patch the thing and fix it and finish the game. And so, now, after a long time, after a few years, it's great. Like it's in a good place, and the game is not that buggy, only a little bit buggy. But what I'm trying to say is, they aimed a little too high, and they missed the target on launch. And part of the reason they missed the target on launch is probably because they tried to build such a big city. And it's not. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work making a city this big. And they didn't hit the target. But they fixed it afterwards, which is good. But still, you want to release the game in a good state, and they didn't. So it didn't quite work out, but that's because they aimed too high. So I'm not gonna, fault them for aiming high. I'm just saying that I guess you kind of have to be a little bit realistic about what you can do with the resources and the time you have. But they tried to make a lot of architecture, and they did make a lot of architecture. And the game kind of suffered for it, at least on release, because the game was unfinished on release. But the architecture wasn't. The architecture was finished on release. So they prioritized the architecture over the game. Maybe not a good game business strategy, but as an architecture enthusiast, I respect that. I respect prioritizing architecture over gameplay. Not sensible, but yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Okay, so that's my final thoughts. At the end of the day, though, very amazing, very impressive. The architecture of Cyberpunk 2077, amazing. Just the sheer quantity of it, and the quality is also quite high all the way through. Not perfect, because it's that you can't make something this big perfect, it's just too hard. But very high quality and extremely large. And that's amazing. Okay, that's my final thoughts. I'll see you in other games.